Hello and welcome to another NeuroHub Live. I am David Gray-Hammond, CEO of NeuroHub Community, and we will start with some audio descriptions for people. So I'm David Gray-Hammond. I'm a large Mediterranean male with a beard, a shaved head, thick rimmed glasses, a lip piercing and an ear stretcher, wearing a kind of green polo shirt, sat in an armchair against a backdrop of a kind of tree of life thing with a, Adele, would you like to do an introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Adele Murray. I am newly appointed Chief Operations Officer of NeuroHub. Got that title today. Yay! Just a quick description of myself. Middle-aged white lady. I have sort of shoulder length, yellowy orangish hair. I'm currently in my office stroke craft room with all my crafty stuff behind me. I'm wearing a black rock hoodie that actually says good girl on it.
Helen, would you like to do an audio intro?
Yeah, I'm Helen Edgar. I'm co-director of NeuroHub Community. I've got my own platform of Autistic Realms. I am a white female, edging towards 50 years of age, looking quite tired at the moment. My hair is scraped back into a ponytail. I'm wearing glasses, and I'm in a foresty, fairy-themed glen wearing a black cardigan. It's nice to be here.
And Kelly.
Yeah, thanks. Kelly Mahler, occupational therapist. Super excited to be here. I am a middle-aged, also nearing 50, Helen, middle-aged white woman with shoulder length black hair. And I am up against a background with a bunch of frames and also some of the books that I've written.
Excellent. So we're going to talk today about the impact of environments, which, funnily enough, I didn't plan it, but it is kind of the perfect topic to have for our first NeuroHub Live after the conference, which was all framed around ecosystemic causes of mental health and distress. So somehow some serendipity happened there, and now we are talking about the impact of environments. So hopefully this will be a very good NeuroHub Live.
It will be. You shouldn't say it wasn't planned. You should say it's absolutely perfectly planned.
No, embrace the chaos. The chaos brings good things.
Mm-hmm.
So, why are environments important? Why do we need to talk about them? What do environments do? What do we mean by environment? Let's start with that. If I mention the word environment, what do people kind of immediately go to? Anyone can jump in here.
Go on, I'll go first. For me, when you say environment, the first thing that pops into my head is the outdoors, grass and trees and sky and all that. But then I go to buildings and I think of my home or like office spaces. But when I think about it a bit more deeply, I think more about the people that are around me and not just the outer environment, but my inner environment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share here?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I, until probably in the last year, never thought so deeply about the environments. Like, so if you would have asked me like a year ago to like answer this question, I probably would have said like, oh, it's just like the things that are immediately around us, right? It's like the sensory stuff, because I'm always thinking sensory because I'm an occupational therapist, or it's the physical environment and how accessible it is, or, you know, like Adele said, like, you know, it's the people in the environment. But I never like considered like, and this is silly because I talk a lot about interoception and bodies, but I never considered the body as an environment. And I also, you know, really, you know, and David and I have talked about this before, but the systemic environment, like the systems, like the bigger things that are not like tangible, like in the here and now, but they are affecting everything. So what I mean by that is like, you know, like, for example, like the schools or workplaces and all the policies and procedures and the ableism and the discrimination and all of those things are so like essential to considering when we think about this whole comprehensive definition of the environment.
Yeah, I just think
Definitely.
it's a huge topic, isn't it, in itself? As you said, like, yeah, we've got that wider systemic kind of structural environment that we're all living in, and I think it's worthwhile pointing out that, like, that for me here, like that's a very, you know, I'm in England. It's a white Western kind of a system that I'm in as well. I think it's really interesting when we think about environments in other cultures and indigenous cultures as well. And yeah, and yeah, the going kind of drawing in from that, we've got like the nature environment, the environment like in our kind of local communities and things like that Adele was talking about, and then we've got the environments that we're inside and that we're able to create ourselves, and how our body, as you said, interacts with those environments, and how our environments interact with our sensory bodies itself. I think it's all mingled is how I describe it. It's all very entangled.
And I know, Helen, you and I have talked about the concept of the mycelium, and like the way that all of the different autistic spaces are kind of connected through like a mycelium, and you know, we share resources and engage in mutual support and things like that.
Yeah. Like we're creating, I think it's, yeah, we've had to kind of create our own environments as autistic people in many ways to survive. You know, the environments that we're brought up in are largely not hospitable for us. Like, it causes a lot of mental health problems for a lot of people, I think. And yeah, it's only through the autistic community that I've kind of become more aware of all of that and the impact of environments that aren't meeting needs, which is why I think, yeah, community spaces and autistic, neurodivergent, disabled-led spaces are really valuable for people, you know, where we can get our needs met. We're all here online at the moment from different parts of the world connecting, and you know, this is my safe space in a way. You know, I've created this. I've got all my little scented bits and pieces around me, my little glow lights. I've got like a salt lamp next to me, my weighted blanket here, and yeah, this is what makes me feel safe. And outside of this room, it's very difficult for me, to be honest, in a lot of spaces.
So to kind of set the scene here a bit then, and for the people watching and for us, you know, as a conversation starter, I want to return to Luke Bearden's golden equation. So autism plus environment equals outcome. And the question is, which of those two parts of the equation can be changed? Because I can't be any less or more autistic than I am, as far as I'm aware. But the environment can be changed. So if you take me as an autistic person, put me in an environment poorly suited to my needs, then people can't be surprised when I have a negative outcome. But if you put me in the environment that is well suited to my needs, I'm going to have better outcomes. And so I think also it's important to note you could put kind of any neurodivergence in there, I think, You know, it doesn't have to be autism plus environment. You could take any
It's
kind of
human.
neurodivergent
It's
person.
human plus environment. And I think when we're talking about the environment, we're not just talking about structural buildings and physical spaces. We're talking about the environment. For me, I don't know where Kelly's going to go on this thread, probably down in the interoception line at some point. But we're talking about the environment that with people and with other living things. We're talking about relationships and interrelationships as part of that environment to make those safe spaces as well.
Kelly, I'm interested to hear from you because you said you hadn't really thought about environment much until the past year. How has environment and sort of thinking about ecosystems and that changed things for you?
I know this is so vulnerable because as an occupational therapist, we're trained to consider the environment, but not like I do now, like not as so comprehensively because I guess I consider myself like a regulation focused therapist, right? Which to me, I was proud of that. I was like, I'm not compliance based. I want to honor the regulation needs of my clients and I want to help them figure out who they are and what they need to thrive. And so I was really focused on them and helping them to learn about themselves and to learn coping skills and to learn what regulation strategies they need. And I realized, and really, David, I just have to really, give you a lot of credit in my metamorphosis here. And I know I have a long way to go, but like, I realized like all of that is still helpful. And I still do like really want to empower my clients with knowledge about themselves so that they can, thrive in various environments. But that was all focused on them. And essentially, this is really hard for me to say, to be honest, but I was like training my clients to endure like painful environments through this regulation approach, if that makes sense. I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard thing for me to realize because I wasn't focusing on changing the environment around each person enough. And so if I was so proud of how I was operating and realizing like, oh gosh, like every day is a learning moment for me. But like, I was training them to perform in environments and probably leading to masking when I thought I wasn't, and and the whole thing. So I have had a really big shakeup, and realized like without focusing really deeply on changing as much about the environments around a person, then I really am kind of operating in essentially an ableist way, which is really hard for me to say this all out loud.
Well, it's good to have that. It's good to have that self-awareness, though, even if it's difficult to admit. I used to have some incredibly ableist positions on things, and it's only by acknowledging them that we can kind of start tackling them. But what you were
100%.
talking about, sorry, Adele?
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's about self-reflection, isn't it? That's I'm an ex-nurse, and one of the things that we do is reflective practice, and that's how you become a better professional. But I think it's something that all people should practice, that sort of reflection on what are my ingrained beliefs, and are they true, and are they right, and test those beliefs. But before we move on, I just wanted to say that when you were talking, Kelly, it really reminded me of something Dr. Nick Walker said in our conference.
I was going to throw this to you, and you've gone for it. You've already picked up on it.
And he was talking about environments and how people are sort of like expected to, like you were saying, expected to conform to the environment in a, and it's something that we do without even thinking about whether or not it's right to do. So the analogy that he gave was a cow on concrete. So, we're animals, humans are animals. If you put a cow on concrete, that cow is not going to thrive because it needs grass, it needs mud, and it can't eat the concrete. You're not going to teach the cow better ways to eat concrete. You're going to change the environment. But for us, we teach ourselves or we're expected to find better ways to manage in the given environment, which is nuts when you think about it. It's a damaging environment that is not built for us, cannot sustain us, and is only doing harm. So why are we trying to force ourselves to comply? Why are we not looking at the environment? So yes,
And
David, we were thinking.
Nick's
Go on.
further kind of thesis on this was that, you know, there's almost like a dichotomy when it comes to resilience. There is that weaponized resilience of, you know, you just need to teach the cow how to eat concrete better. But then there is resilience as a form of defiance, which is having the resilience to do what you need to do to be effective and make change in the world, but still be able to bounce back from the difficult stuff, because the difficult stuff is going to happen no matter how well met your needs are. So resilience is important, and it's an important part of existing within the environment. But the question is, what are you training the resilience for? Is the resilience to go and eat concrete, or is it the resilience to advocate for a field full of grass?
I love that analogy.
I do
When
too.
he said it, I was just like, that is it. That makes perfect sense.
Nick Walker is sort of the master of these things.
The analogy master? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the way Nick Walker explains things, Nick can take really complicated stuff and just make it understandable.
Yeah,
It's quite magical.
We were talking about how the word resilience. Hi, Colin.
Oh, hi, Colin.
And Helen as well. We were talking about how the word resilience is quite a trigger word, especially for me, and I think for a lot of autistic neurodivergent people, especially parents. You know, we're told our children need to be more resilient. We need to be more resilient as parents as well. And it kind of, as you'd expect, kind of queered that. They flipped it. You know, we need to be cultivating resilience as an act of defiance for ourselves, you know, for our own needs as well. So it was really interesting.
And I think the resilience discussion really kind of is important to the discussion of ecosystems and environment, because so much of what we've been taught, so like for me as a professional, even I realize there have been times where I am teaching a person how to endure a poorly fitting environment, when really what I need to be doing is advocating for a better environment for that person. And I think that's an interesting sort of thing to be presented with as a professional. I mean, Kelly, what was it kind of like for you when you had that realization that, like, you know, all right, maybe I've been training the cow to eat concrete when I should have been advocating for a grassy field?
Yeah, it's like anything that I learn, you know, that it's painful, to be honest, because I really try hard to be as affirming as possible. And so, you know, I have a period of time where I want to go back and apologize to every, like, you know, the hundreds of clients that I've had over the years. Like, I'm really sorry that I didn't like advocate for you more, and to, like, you know, really work on the environments around you and getting rid of the concrete, so to speak, and changing the concrete, or, you know, whatever it is. I'm really bad at analogies, apparently, but hopefully you know what I'm meaning about the getting rid of the concrete, getting more grass. So yeah, but I feel, but you know what I would say too is that there's a lot of people that are definitely not having this discussion enough. And so even though I am advocating for environmental change, you know, it's not always met with open minds. Especially, I do a lot of the work, and the work I do is a lot of times in the school systems, and so that part makes it really hard too. And so now I have you know, this passion for environmental change. And, you know, sometimes it goes well, and other times it's met with a lot of resistance in the systems. But my client is still really dysregulated and really struggling to show up in these poor environments. So it creates such a huge problem to navigate, because I want to, you know, maybe I don't want to say I'll never, but I still want to focus on regulation, but not, but also more so changing the environment. But when the environment is hard to change, it's more like validating to say to my students, like, essentially this sucks. I know this environment sucks. I'm doing my best to try to change this. And, and just like saying like, we're trying, and I just want to acknowledge how hard this environment is. And just believe what they're telling me, whether it's with their words or with it, with what I'm observing about them.
Yeah. And I just wanted to bring attention to this comment on screen. No one can be resilient in a vacuum of support. From Moat's Place to Page. I think that's a valid point, and to me it highlights another thing really about resilience in environments, that it's a joint effort, like this sort of individualistic approach to survival where everyone's responsible for themselves. It comes back to that idea of it takes a village, I think. And I think current society has encouraged us to kind of separate from the village. And that's why it's important to create things like autistic community spaces and spaces where neurodivergent people can come together and be sort of a part of something, because we're showing that you can build a healthy resilience and affect change, and that you are not solely responsible for any of it. There is a world of people out there who are backing you up.
Yeah, I think it's really hard when Kelly was saying, like, when we're talking about kind of systems and structures that are in place, like when we're talking about school settings and workplace settings. I was a former special needs teacher for 20 years, and it's really hard to make those you have lesson observations where you're expected that your class will be kind of conforming, and or the teacher training. I think it's moved on a lot over the past few years, but certainly, like, 15, 20 years ago, it was fairly behaviorist, and in practice that's what we were kind of taught, reward charts for making children doing good sitting, good looking, good listening, and yeah, effectively for those autistic neurodivergent students, as Kelly said, you're teaching people to kind of mask and to deny their sensory and bodily needs, which are already probably really, really, really struggling. And that's when we get lots of, that really affects well-being and mental health. And I know you've done absolutely huge amount of work on the interoception system, Kelly. But when you're not regulated, and all your attention and your energy is going towards other things, like, for example, a child in school just having to sit, and they're rewarded for their good sitting and their good listening, then they're not going to pick up on those basic signals of even needing the toilet or anything like that. Just all of those things just start building up throughout the day, don't they, and cause difficulties.
And I really want to comment on this comment at the bottom of the screen here by 1617 Willow. There's a study in a school system in upstate New York of mindfulness skills taught to students to help them endure school conditions that they should not have to endure. I'm a registered mindfulness practitioner, and I feel quite confident saying that's not what mindfulness is for. Like don't get me wrong, mindfulness is a good practice for self-regulation, emotional regulation. It is not intended to teach you to keep being a punch bag. That's not being mindful. That is teaching. Well, it's teaching children to endure abuse, quite frankly.
Compliance. It's teaching compliance, really, I guess.
Because for me, like, as a mindfulness practitioner, I'm constantly like trying to develop things that are encompassing neurodivergent needs, changed and altered in ways to make them more accessible. I'm certainly not, teaching like, and now we'll do a guided meditation on why your needs and opinions don't matter. Like that's just, it's not mindfulness. That's my opinion on that.
I think that highlights as well another aspect of environment when we're talking about the social culture that a person is brought up in.
Yeah.
So very often, across the world, there's different acceptable culture behaviors. So in some cultures, it's not acceptable to give eye contact, particularly when talking to people in authority, or it's meant to be a sign of deference and respect to not give eye contact. In other cultures, you must give eye contact for respect. And I think that kind of cultural differences, not just sort of geographical cultural differences, but also time cultural differences. So in the past, there were acceptable and not acceptable behaviours, very different to what we find acceptable today. And to sort of to give those cultural aspects a sort of truth to them doesn't sit very well with me, if that makes sense. Did I explain that well? That they're more what's the word I'm looking for? Brain. Yeah, welcome to ADHD brain. That although they are expected and it's the cultural norm, doesn't make it correct and right and the way that things should be done. And I think it gives us more confidence, I feel, more power to ask the question, is this way of doing things the right way of doing things?
Well, we know from critical thinking in that conformity itself is logically fallacious, because there is a specific logical fallacy in the study of critical thinking, which is an appeal to the masses fallacy. So logically, something is not the right thing just because lots of people agree with it or do it. And so it really annoys me when we're all like, yeah, we just need to like follow the crowd. And I'm like, no, because logically that makes no sense.
I mean, it seems to be an argument that's given a lot for why provision isn't made for neurodivergent, particularly neurodivergent children in schools. That, this is the way it's done. This is the way you're expected to behave. And, this is how we've always done it. So you have to, you have to get with the program. And I think that kind of environment, which is quite often politically and media led, there's definitely political agendas behind sort of social cultural norms, what's acceptable and what's not. I think they really, really do need to be challenged, and it is going to be difficult, and it is going to be a very long process that's going to be quite painful, I think, for a lot of people, having their views challenged, having the status quo challenged, push back again, on all sides of the political spectrums. It's not going to be an easy process, and it's going to take a lot of time. So
yeah. Right, Kelly, I wanted to come to you because you briefly mentioned it. We didn't go too deep on it, but the body as an environment in its own right. How does that change things? How does it change things to see the body as this? I mean, fundamentally, it's an environment we can't really escape, isn't it? If our body environment is the concrete environment, we are stuck with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that make up our body environment, right? Like, of course, there's interoception and all those inner sensations that we might be noticing or not noticing, like hunger and need for bathroom. But then there's also pain and chronic illness sensations. There's, noticing body signals, and do we know what they mean for us? There's, our nervous system reactions within the inner environment. There's our histories and experiences of trauma. So there's just so much that make up that inner environment. And like you said, it is one environment that we are never escaping, at least while we're alive.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, it really is important to pay attention to. And I also feel like it is our I don't know, I guess like a compass almost, or like it's this like reflection of then the bigger environments around us. Because if we're surrounded by concrete and that's not a match for what our bodies need, our bodies are probably not going to be a very comfortable environment. It's probably going to be
Yeah.
highly distressed and, you know, maybe chronically fatigued and heading towards burnout, and, you know, all of those things that um are part of that well, you call it, or I don't know where the term originated, but I like the term body mind, you know, but that inner environment of all of those things that I was just mentioning.
Helen, I'm certain you probably know who coined the term body mind. You're on mute.
I don't know how to pronounce the name. I think it's spelled WDWT. I'm going to put a reference into the chat in a second.
Okay.
Thanks,
Nicola
Helen.
has referenced the term body mind, which is actually around. It's been around for a very, very, very long time. In fact, yeah.
I would love to know the origin of it. So thanks, Helen. Yeah.
And I'm glad you also mentioned burnout, because one of the things that I've argued before is that when you're in burnout, you experience almost like an ecosystemic disconnection. Like you disconnect more and more from the ecosystem around you until you're fundamentally disconnecting from your body mind as well. And then you're just lost. You've lost these skills. You've lost connections to the people around you. You've lost connections to the systems of support that you may have had. And I kind of see autistic burnout or ADHD burnout as like this cascade of disconnection, starting from like the smaller connections that perhaps aren't so significant, and the disconnections become more and more intense the more we become burnt out, until we are just essentially feeling it's that alone in a room full of people kind of feeling, but on steroids, I guess, because it's like a really intense version of that. And I think that's something to consider, because that to me raises the question of, if someone gets to the point of burnout within their body mind, how can we work with them to reconnect with the world around them? I'm open to anyone discussing that. There's no wrong answers, because I don't know the right answer either.
I don't want to monopolize.
No, monopolize. It's fine.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's an easy answer, right? Like, obviously, we're here to talk about the environments and we need to consider the environments, but how do you start to pinpoint which elements of the environment need to be changed? Whether, I don't know, it's like the sensory environment, or it's the physical or the social environment, whatever it is, without getting that inner compass, that interoceptive system that connect with the body back online.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's like, I mean, I guess it depends on the situation. And if you have some support system to guide you, maybe it could be a parallel where you're adapting the environment, or have support adapting the environment, as well as you are starting to feel safe enough to reconnect, to start not honoring is the wrong word, but start exploring more things that your nervous system needs to get out of that collapse, out of that burnout. But you can't do that in isolation without considering the environments around you. But I have clients that they're just so paralyzed and stuck that to say, oh, fix your environments around, not fix your environments, but alter your environments around you to better meet your needs. They're just so stuck in burnout. That's like a really hard thing for them to do. And I'm curious what y'all think about that. And I am actually looking for advice, when someone's so stuck and they don't have a huge support system of someone to be able to help adapt the environments, or they don't have the privilege of adapting their environments. Like they could be like a parent and they're in burnout crisis, but their kids still need them, so like, that's why I don't know if there's like a straight, linear, easy answer to all of this.
So this is going to be a shameless plug, but sometimes I think the best, and I am being honest here as well as doing a shameless plug, but connecting people with their community, they may not feel very connected at first, but there will be people through there who can kind of support them into reconnecting with the world around them, and maybe thinking about actually what are your needs, and you know, where have they been ignored. Because I think that's a really good starting point, is community connection. We know that from the work of Dr. Monique Botha, who showed that in their research that community connectedness mitigated the impact on well-being caused by minority stress. So a good starting place, I believe, is connecting with your peers, with community.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like that offers you a lot of belief and validation, which I am so certain, becoming more and more certain every single day, like, especially for interoception, like, just for someone to believe your experience is so key. For someone to say, I believe you, like, what you're experiencing is valid. I mean, and so I think that, David, I'm wondering if that, like, can be why, or a huge part of why a community is so essential in that process of healing from burnout.
You see, I think perhaps one of the key points there is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have that empathy divide because of the double empathy problem with a lot of the people in the world around us. But we connect with our peers, and suddenly that empathy divide isn't so much of a divide anymore. And we can feel genuine empathy from people. And sometimes I think feeling empathy from another human being can do an awful lot to interrupt the difficulties that come with burnout. And I just want to highlight Willow's comment here. Another thing that can help with burnout is to interrupt shame cycles. And this is what I mean by empathy. Because if you're met with empathy rather than questioning and judgment, it does interrupt those shame cycles.
Another thing that we see quite often in the community, and I know it helps me personally, is when somebody shares an experience or a difficulty, and then other community members say, oh yeah, me too. And even if we don't collectively have the answer to fix that problem immediately, just having that connection with another person, that, yeah, I'm not alone, I'm not odd and weird, this is a human experience that other human beings are having, and I feel understood and I feel seen, and that, I think, has a huge benefit for your mental well-being. It's something that's been very, very important to me, and I know that you've found connecting with the autistic community online, David, has also helped in terms of general anxiety, getting out and about in the real world, so to speak, which I also have found, because I suffer with panic disorder and agoraphobia, and although I'm a very sociable person, I find it really, really difficult to manage the environment outside of my sort of immediate home. And being able to have access to community where people are chatting to you and, friends and stuff like that, even though it is online, really helps regulate my nervous system enough to start. And I have been, after, where am I now? 4 or 5 years post burnout and not been able to leave my home. In that time, I'm now starting to go back into the real world, and I think a lot of that, if not all of it, is down to the fact that I have the online community and friendship support, and that very supportive environment that allowed my nervous system to re-regulate.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important, Adele, and like, well done, because I think on all of like your journey and everything, I think the online community is equally valid as what people call real life, or like, you know, whatever's outside there and past my window and behind my door there. I think
environments aren't always physical spaces.
Yeah, and I think certainly the online world for many autistic and neurodivergent people, especially young people, when we're thinking about like gaming and things like that, it enables you to be in the comfort of your own home. Like you can be gaming in bed, you can have your camera off, your headphones on, your weighted blanket. There's no pressure to kind of be fitting in with any peer group. You know, not having to be dressed in the right way. You can be there in your onesie in bed. And it's a lot safer. There's a lot more time to process, like text communication and written communication, that kind of intermittent kind of collaboration and different ways of communicating is often a lot more accessible in online spaces, which is why I think, you know, the online gaming world is so beneficial for lots of autistic children, because it helps regulate them, because they're not having to mask when they're online so much.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the live, so let's just do some quick ones. Kelly, what's your favorite sort of environment? What if you're thinking of an environment you enjoy that helps you recuperate and doesn't stress you out, what sort of environment would that be?
Well, it's going to involve my 2 corgis, I'll tell you that much, and probably my couch and probably a very heavy blanket. Yes, and maybe sometimes a bowl of ice cream.
Sounds very good. Helen, what about you?
Yeah, very similar to Kelly, I think. Yeah, I really like kind of just being in my kind of foresty den here, and regulating the body mind. And I did find the original source for that, thanks to Nick Walker for originally sharing it with me. I was right, it did begin with a D and it did have a Y and a W in it. It's I still don't know how to pronounce it though. It's Ditchwold K from 1986. It was originally published in 1977. They had a book called Body Mind by Pantheon Publishers. Good luck to anybody trying to actually find that book. If you do find a copy, let me know. But that is the original source of the term body mind, as far as we can work out in the community. It's been largely misattributed to Margaret Price through disability and mad studies, and I think even Wikipedia possibly is attributing it to Margaret Price still. So I'm continuously trying to reshare the original source of that Nick Walker shared as well.
One of the challenges with these older concepts is they've been kind of run with and used without citations for so many years that people have forgotten the original sources. See, but my favorite sort of environment, in my mind, I'm thinking like if I could take my armchair downstairs and the books that surround it and my television and obviously an internet connection, and just have all that in like dense forest. That would be and a star projector to just put pretty colors everywhere. That would be my perfect environment right now. But I'm dynamic like all autistic people, so my perfect environment today may not be my perfect environment tomorrow. Yeah, Adele, you're back, and we're winding
as well, David. There,
yes, I'm back. Full disclosure: while I'm also doing this, I'm also cooking dinner for my family, which is why I keep going off camera. So I do apologise. But my favorite environment, I think, is my allotment. I love digging in the soil, growing vegetables, and also anywhere where my family is, my dog, basically. If those people are around me, then I'm happy. I just got on. Okay, thank you, thank you for the food from my son. He's 14, so yay.
Well, I was going to say that after this, my environmental recuperation is, and it does mean I'm going to be up late, I'm going to go downstairs and watch the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, because I watched Fellowship of the Ring last night. And I will only watch the extended edition. I refuse to watch the cinematic one. It's not the proper film. That's basically a trailer for the proper film. So extended edition, I watched Fellowship last night, it's Two Towers tonight, and probably Return of the King tomorrow. So over the next 2 days, since yesterday till tomorrow, I will have watched like 17 hours or something of Lord of the Rings.
I was going to ask, how long is the extended version?
Well, so the shortest one is Fellowship of the Ring, and I watched that last night. It was 3 hours and 54 minutes.
Okay, I mean that's long, but not. I thought that's what is the one you're doing tonight?
The Two Towers, and I think I can't remember exactly, but it's just over 4 hours.
Wow.
And then, yeah, really, I can make any environment perfect for me by either putting on the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition or Cloud Atlas. Any of those very much, just makes an environment so much easier to cope with.
What I really want to dive in with Kelly one time, I think you may be anticipating me saying this when you were talking about my favourite environment, David, because I've resisted saying it. My absolute favourite environment is actually a sensory deprivation, like a flotation tank. And I think yeah.
So have you tried that? I have not tried it.
Yeah, I go regularly. I have done for quite a few years, and I think it would be fascinating to talk sensory stuff like that with you.
Yes. Oh, I'll take any chance to talk. I'll take any chance to talk about any of this stuff.
Because that's like, for me, I think, because I've been in so many like really quite severe burnout crises, and just having like no sound, no light, no noise, no awareness of even my body, because your body kind of melts into the water because it's body temperature. That for me is like my most perfect environment, and I literally crave that.
It sounds amazing. We don't have any of those around me. I'm in a very rural area of Pennsylvania, so it is on my bucket list to try. But I think like in reflection and learning more about myself and my neurotype, it's probably why I was so drawn to be a swimmer growing up. It probably wasn't as great as one of these tanks, but
even the bath, like in the dark, I would love having a bath in the dark. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I just love being underwater. Like, I just love it. I can feel my body better, but also there's not as much like noise and stimulus, like just bombarding me.
Water environments. I'm actually writing about water time, David. That's a whole other tangent we can go down one day.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm so excited that we've managed to speak again, though, Kelly. Your knowledge is just like phenomenal around sensory stuff, and we could talk all day with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm a big fan of all of yours too, so this was really fun. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad. Well, thank you for everyone who's joined in, and thank you for coming in, giving us a watch and commenting and joining in with the conversation. It's been a really good one. I'm going to be merciful and bring it to an end so that Adele can go and make sure her family is fed without having to jump between two things.
I know Adele has been changing environments throughout this. We've seen like all of your environments now.
Can you believe I've actually cooked a full roast dinner while doing this, which I think is a feat in itself, considering I'm ADHD.
I was going to say it's a very ADHD thing to do.
It's all plated up now and ready to go. So the boy's already taken it. I've got to send the rest out.
I have to admit, the first thing I'm doing after this is hunting down some food. Not literally hunting, because I don't know how to do that.
I just had a really nice visual of you hunting, David.
Well, the only things I've got around to hunt is a microwave pasta bake and an oven pizza. So they won't be too hard to hunt because I know where they are. They're in my fridge.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the stream there. I will catch you all in the next one. I think we have one scheduled for next week. But as always, I can't be bothered to look at the calendar and tell you what it is. So look through the events on Facebook. Look through look through the upcoming lives on YouTube, and keep an eye out for me, because I intend to actually properly share these things moving forward. Now that I am not, drowning in conference, which, it did go well. It did go well.
You've got an operational lead manager now. You've got Adele. What's your title again, Adele?
Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah. So COO I am. So I I have actually created an email for you today, David, for what is coming up in September. So it's all there. It should be in your inbox now, ready for you to tell everybody in the newsletter.
Yes, the newsletter will be there on the 1st of September. But as always, if you've enjoyed this, you can send us a tip via our Ko-fi. There's it ticking along the bottom, and if you look in the top left, I'll do a magic trick, and now it's there as well. So thank you, everyone, and I will catch you all next week, most likely. I will press end stream now. Goodbye.